Hello and welcome everyone to the comic panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawenta.
And for those of you who are listening for the first time, we are a bi-weekly radio show podcast, comic book club, covering any and everything regarding comics and manga. We have each co-host pick a book that follows a specific theme and review a book for each episode. Then we wrap up the theme with a retrospective episode covering our opinions and favorite moments for each of the books. This is our retrospective for the theme of Superman, the original superhero who fights for truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. In this theme, we read Superman vs. Meshi, Superman and the Authority, Superman Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, Superman Phantom Zone, and Absolute Superman Volume 1. And we're happy to welcome back to the show Nat Yonce from the podcast Collective Action Comics. Thanks for coming back on, Nat.
Of course, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, so just as a quick refresh for everybody out there listening and for our wonderful co-hosts here, the books that we read in our previous episodes, Superman vs. Meshi is a food manga about Superman becoming increasingly interested in Japanese chain restaurant food. Superman and the Authority is about Superman bringing together a new team of anti-heroes for covert Black Ops missions with the intent to fix the world's problems that come from the highest spots of power rather than the threats of supervillains. Superman Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow is one potential ending to the pre-crisis Superman mythos, where his classic plot lines are wrapped up and Superman must make the ultimate sacrifice to stop the ultimate threat to his loved ones. Superman Phantom Zone is another possible ending to pre-crisis Superman, where the Kryptonian criminals trapped in the Phantom Zone escape and trap Superman in the Phantom Zone, where he confronts an extra-dimensional god that is part of the Phantom Zone and ultimately chooses to wreak havoc on Superman's world to keep him from traversing the Phantom Zone again. And finally, Absolute Superman is a recent reimagining of Superman that attempts to get Superman back to his working-class origins by fighting an oppressive multinational corporation. So, Jake, you chose this theme. What was your reason behind doing so?
Well, part of it was, at the time when it started, it was topical because the Superman movie had been out for a few weeks. And now I guess it's topical because Superman's on streaming. But otherwise, it's kind of a blank spot in my... Because I've always been, as much as I like DC, I've been much more of a Batman fan than a Superman fan. So it's been kind of a... Other than the high points, stuff like All-Star Superman and Kingdom Come, which we didn't read for the series, I haven't been exposed to a lot of Superman as a comics fan. So I wanted to kind of broaden my horizons in stuff I already knew.
You wanted to give Superman a chance.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's one of those things where, like, when you're young, you like Superman because he's the coolest. When you get a little older, it's like, no, he's dumb because he's too powerful and you can't make an interesting story
He's
with somebody
so
who's
naive.
like invincible. And then, like, you get a little older and a little less, like, more jaded, but also like, yeah, some cool stuff is out there. It's like, maybe Superman's all right. And I've entered my maybe Superman's all right phase.
Nice, yeah. I know that's
Were you influenced at all by the movie at that point?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I'm glad that you chose this because yeah, definitely I feel like it's definitely been a great opportunity to just expand the horizons of where Superman is, you know, because I feel like I've mostly read him in like team up books and also like more modern interpretations, which like we'll talk about that too. So yeah, this was a good theme choice. I'm glad that you picked it. On that note, some of these books swam in similar narrative circles and some very explicitly did not. Do you think that collectively these titles say something unified about Superman? If so, what? And if not, why not?
I mean, Absolute Superman is trying its best to be exactly not Superman, in my opinion. As easy as it is to be like, oh, Superman versus Meshi is just like a comedy manga. It's different from all these, actual DC titles.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute Superman just stands out to me, though.
Yeah, I think that, like, you know, something could be said for, like, in all of them, like, what Superman does is his best, you know? Because, like, yeah, I mean, ultimately with this question too, I feel like because, like, and we say it in our intro, Superman is the original superhero. It is the mold that everybody else goes off of. So yeah, by saying, like, is there a unified thing to Superman? It's also like a unified aspect to superheroes on the whole in some way. Like, obviously the point is that everybody else, like, tweaks, certain things in a certain way. But yeah. And yeah, I'll also say, Nat, I know that, like, this was a major kind of theme point for your recent review on the Superman 2025 movie too.
Yeah, I think that if there's any particular thread that sort of weaves all of these together, it's that it's not that, as Shawinta was saying, that Superman is naive. It's that there is an innocence in wanting there to be something better. And a lot of people can think of that as naive. And we're primed to think of that as naive because we're told that we can't change the world. We're told that we can't have something better than what we have now. And that's, not necessarily always by design, but it is certainly helpful to the people who make money off of us not having a better world, And with these various books, we see not exactly what that would look like, as in different ways of Superman making the world better or Superman telling us to make the world better. But we see these ideas of Superman just being better himself and attempting to lead by example sometimes. I don't know if that necessarily translates as well in every single one of these examples, but the fact that it's there in all of them really speaks to what people expect from Superman, both as writers and as readers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really well said. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that I really like that idea that, like, just like, wanting to, like, push for a better world. And even, I'm obviously I think that, it's fine to say our biggest outlier is the Superman versus Meshi book, but yeah, that's still, like, it's like, and it's funny, and this also relates to what Shawento was saying too, that, like, at least in what the consensus that me and Shawenta got to when we were recording that episode was that, to us, that version of Superman seems so unlike what we would say Superman is. So in some ways it's like two outliers, on different sides of a spectrum. But yeah, there is still that, that want to change the world and make it a better place. Even if one of them is through Japanese food.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, it's edgelords who are like, Superman's naive. Thinks he can change the world.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you try to distill Superman down to something, a symbol of hope, and even absolute Superman is trying to do that. We felt it wasn't effective, but that doesn't mean it wasn't trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess I can see, on the other hand, how much of symbol of hope is Superman being in Superman versus Meshi.
Yeah. I'm,
paving the way in food.
Right. Yeah. That one was like the very first book that we read for this theme too. So I'm like, just trying to recall it a little bit better too. It's like, yeah, just, in that one, just being, so, like, focused on his, like, interpersonal relationships is what I remember from it, at least, like, he's like thinking about like taking Lois on like a date, and stuff like that, and his like relationships to different members of the Justice League, and like, their vibes, and then his relationship to himself too, and like having self-doubt. But yeah, so like in that way, I think that that's like an important like aspect of Superman too, that like meanwhile we criticized Absolute Superman for it being like, well, Lois and Jimmy are in that one technically, but it's very different, and I mean, of course it's meant to be different, but it's just like they don't have a connection to him, not really.
It doesn't feel meaningful, at least. It
Yeah.
feels contrived.
Yeah.
Very on the tracks, sort of. It has to be this way because it is this way.
Yeah.
I mean, to be a little bit negative about Superman versus Meshi, not to focus on these two so much, but I will say Superman versus Meshi is a little bit commercialized, right? Like, the point of it is to promote these fast food chains in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely it is. But I mean, also, is all of Superman comics not like commercial in some way?
You know what that
So
makes me think of?
materialistic.
There is there's this earnestness to Superman versus Meshi that I think Absolute Superman completely lacks. I'm not a fan of Absolute Superman in the slightest. But this reminds me, I don't know if any of you play tabletop RPGs, but at the very beginning of the pandemic, my friends and I sat down over Zoom and we played the Wendy's RPG that they published.
Right, I do remember that. When
Feast of Legends. We played the whole dang thing. I DM'd it.
It's like a rule book? Like,
Yeah, and an adventure that Wendy's published, and they hired like superstar artists from the industry to illustrate it, so it looked great. And I'm sure they got paid better by Wendy's than they probably get paid by Wizards of the Coast. But we played it, and it was woefully inadequate in terms of giving the DM the sort of information that they need to run a cohesive adventure or even a coherent one.
yeah.
But it was really fun because the people that wrote it understood the assignment. They understood that they were doing this to be kitschy. And through that understanding, there was this genuineness to it that I really appreciated. And I got one of the best compliments I'd ever gotten from somebody in my group when they said that this Dungeons and Dragons game is a vacation from my other Dungeons and Dragons games. And that's kind of how Superman versus Meshi feels, is that there's this earnestness, this innocence to it. While sure, we can look at it with cynicism that it is an advertisement, but it's also quite fresh.
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're going with that. It is like, and I honestly, I wonder how I would feel about it if I, after reading all of these other Superman books, reading that one last or something, just to like, rather than first, and I could totally see it.
Palate cleanser.
Yeah, palate cleanser, exactly. Like, just like, oh yeah, that was like, especially, we haven't really mentioned Superman and the Authority yet, and that one was also kind of like a little dreary and a little bit, all over the place.
Well, think about it like Superman versus the Authority, or Superman and the Authority versus Superman versus Meshi, and think of the tension in it, right? There's almost no tension at all in Superman and the Authority. He's always got the answers. He always knows what's happening. He knows what's coming next. Like, there's no build up. There's no climax. Nothing really is able to even be questioned because Superman's just in control.
Yeah.
But then if you look at Superman versus Meshi, Think about the time when he's having this almost existential meltdown because two beef bowls look exactly the same, and he's trying to figure out why they're different and why they cost different amounts of money. Just staring at the menu going, think, Clark, think.
Yeah. Yeah, no. That's 100% it. Yeah. and definitely how I felt about Superman and the Authority, where it was just like, yep, nothing's really going on. But yeah, definitely there is tension in Superman versus Meshi.
Everybody's counting on you.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's something about. I mean, I don't know exactly how Superman versus Meshi was planned, but the fact that it's just 2 volumes, that's it, the end, versus all these other ones, which are like probably trying to prolong their lifespan as long as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, well, but granted though, both Phantom Zone and Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow are essentially like endings though.
That's true. They are different.
Yeah.
And I really like that about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then even Superman and the Authority was meant to be a new jumping off point, but then immediately was like, actually, never mind, we're not doing this anymore.
JK.
But then they sort of did, right? With the Philip Kennedy Johnson stuff.
Yeah, they did continue on with it, but it was like they seriously had to change their plans because they weren't doing like the DC 5G.
Oh yeah. Oh, I remembered that, the Dan DiDio stuff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we went pretty in depth on that episode about what that was, but suffice it to say, basically, it was supposed to be a completely new and fresh take on Superman from Grant Morrison. Well, I mean, he still considered it in line with his Action Comics run from 2010, but yeah, basically, like it was the plan was to not keep shifting back to the status quo and instead have the Earth or the DC universe actually continue to change in real time and have heroes age and stuff like that.
Do you know what the first ever comic to do that was?
No.
Gasoline Alley. From the, I think it was the first one. I could be wrong, but it was at least one of the early notable examples. And it ran for a long time. I think it might still be going. But yeah, characters have come and gone, and they're certainly not the same stable of characters as there were in the 30s because those characters are all dead.
Wow. That's cool. And that's a newspaper comic strip, right?
Yeah, it's a strip, yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Nice.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm so sorry.
No, you didn't interrupt me at all. That was totally fine. And really interesting.
I love fun facts.
Yeah. So yeah, and I'm sure we'll kind of come back to this question a little bit more. But let's move into. Did you feel like there was certain eras of Superman comics that were missing in particular that you wish we could have covered, or maybe even a particular story, if that is helpful too?
I mean, I know we didn't do, like I said, All-Star Superman, and that is usually considered one of the best Superman stories.
Yeah.
But we also didn't do any Golden Age either. But that's, I think, more just because it's hard to get collected versions of that, and there's not a lot of interconnect between any single issue.
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't know that about All-Star Superman.
Oh yeah.
I was just expecting the same as All-Star Batman.
Oh
No, we never. Well, first of all, in All-Star Superman, they don't use the R word.
Yeah.
They do in All-Star Batman.
Yes. We have
specifically All-Star Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Because there's an All-Star
right,
Batman
yeah.
by Scott Snyder, which is not the same thing.
Right.
That's right.
There's only one Batman comic, and it's that one.
Yeah. No, definitely very, very different. And yeah, I was kind of expecting a little bit All-Star Superman to pop up in this theme, and then it didn't, which is, yeah, But that kind of happens every theme, I think. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure this thing is gonna happen, and then Showenta chooses Superman versus Meshi. Like, okay. But yeah, no, for sure. I expected that, and I do wish that like, a little bit, I don't know, selfishly, I guess. Really, I guess I just want to revisit that because I think that now that I have a better foundation in Superman, and especially like pre-crisis Superman, specifically from reading the books that we did cover, I think that a lot of the things are going to hit harder. Whereas, like, I think that it was a very well put together story when I didn't really know much about Superman, but it was still like, well, I'm done with that, So yeah, I agree that one would be a great addition to this series.
Yeah, I guess, we did read, like you're saying, we read two potential endings to Superman that are very iconic. And then we read two sort of different kind of takes and starts to Superman. I guess I wouldn't say Superman and the Authority is like, I don't know. I don't think I read that one. So I don't know if it shows the beginning of Superman or if it's just straight into it.
No,
just
it
the
starts.
Superman
It
plotline.
starts with JFK's assassination.
It's so silly.
Okay.
So silly. It's
Yeah.
so
Somebody do something.
mawkish.
Yeah.
So I think kind of what we're missing is a classic Superman start, like the beginning of the story.
Yeah, no, and that actually is like that's another major one for me. I think that I would choose is, while certainly a controversial man, and then controversial in terms of the quality of the story, John Byrne's Man of Steel and other related titles, the basically right after whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, the reboot of Superman's mythos in the new continuity. I would have been interested to cover that also and just be like, okay, well, we read this ending. Now let's see what they try to bring to the table as far as like what new can be done.
And it's
I
very
think
interesting
Absolute
to
Superman really made me crave that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want there's always something to be said for starting fresh, but like both Absolute Superman and John Byrne's Superman are profoundly weird. It's hard for people to understand now because so much Superman media has been based on the John Byrne reboot that's what we think of as Superman now. Like that is our definition of Superman. But that was so alien to anybody who was reading it at the time. Like it was so different that there were, the DC was flooded with letters of confusion. How come Superman? Why are his parents still alive? Stuff like that. And Absolute Superman represents, I think, an even further departure from the original. While very strangely attempting to capture the spirit of it without understanding exactly what that spirit means. I did a whole episode on the first issue of Absolute Superman, and it's very clear that Jason Aaron doesn't exactly understand what revolutionary politics are or look like in the slightest. There's some basic math there that he just simply doesn't do.
Yeah.
Very superficial.
Yeah, exactly. And purely aesthetic for sure. Superficial aesthetic, exactly right. Whereas the Superman from the Golden Age, and if you wanted to go back to a Golden Age, you could go to Superman number 30, because that's the first appearance of Mr. Mxyzptlk, who plays such a huge role in the two endings that have been chosen for this Superman series. And I don't exactly remember what happens in that story, but if you go back to Golden Age Superman, the stuff that he tackles that we think of as radically left-wing or radically progressive now were just everyday occurrences that were happening to people whose lives were crummy. at the time. You know, I mean, he was just tackling problems that were in the news.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. And that's like, yeah, going back to like the absolute Superman, it's like, you know, like sure, there totally is like, you know, stuff, like, you know, diamond mines with like asbestos, you know, like that is happening, but it's not being real to what, like, you know, if DC is going, you know, translating these comics into like Brazilian Portuguese, you know, are the people
You're saying
that
the miners aren't taking these comics into the mines with them?
yeah, like are they going to read this and like, you know, feel like seen or anything? Like probably
God,
not.
it really does feel like tourism, right? Like, what is the average comic reader going to get out of this?
Yeah. And like as I posited in the episode I did on it, Superman hasn't fundamentally changed the like he hasn't fundamentally changed property relations in any kind of society, fictional or otherwise, in Absolute Superman. So all he did was just hand these miners a bunch of stolen diamonds. And he says, "Go forth and be free." And they're like, "What are we supposed to do with these?"
Touch your blood diamonds.
Yeah, right. The blood that your boss still owns legally.
Yeah. Oh.
Go be fugitives. Your careers are over.
Yeah. But yeah, no. I also wanted to say, yeah, I do think it would be cool to have read some Golden Age comics also, and like in particular, I do really like Mr. Mixie-Piddlix. And also I would add on to that, I've really been increasing my Bizarro fandom. I've started on the 79 issue list of all of his appearances, and definitely would include like, I don't know, his first like 4, maybe 5 appearances. Just like, yeah, because I think that it's a really interesting character. Just really, you know, it was unexpected to me to pick that up and see how quickly even, because I think he was introduced in, it was either 58 or 59. And then once you get just like 4 years later, they have so twisted his characterization, you know, like it's like a complete like Flanderization where they like just keep you know, pumping up the most like extreme parts of his personality, and they do it with each subsequent appearance. You know, they're all like, you know, this happened last issue and now so it's going to be more and more, because when he first appears, he's just a duplicate of, well, Superboy to start off with, and then the second time it's Superman. But yeah, he's just he wants to help people. He has all of Superman's powers. He yeah, he's just like Superman, and he doesn't get hurt by kryptonite, so he's actually better than Superman in terms of effectiveness. He's maybe a little bit like, you know, he has that like childlike kind of mentality a little bit, but mostly he's pretty capable. It's just that people are scared of him because of his looks. And so like, you know, he gets down on himself basically. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then from there, they introduce like kind of the backwards thinking elements to him, but that's completely of his own volition, essentially, after being outcast from Earth. He goes with Bizarro Lois after she gets created to another planet, and they make a bunch of duplicates of themselves, and then they're all like, well, we'll just do everything backwards from Earth. but that's not implicit to being an imperfect duplicate of Superman. That is, they decide that. And that, yeah, I was just really intrigued by that, like a transgressive alternate society, but also kind of repeating cycles of abuse too, because there are Bizarro, Superman, and Lois's who get the thinking ability of normal Earth Superman and Lois, or just people, I guess. And they do put them in prison for that.
Yeah, they're the outcasts.
Yeah, they're the outcasts instead. It's like,
There's something very interesting about trying to appreciate Superman through Bizarro.
yeah.
I too would like to appreciate him more.
Yeah.
I think the Bizarro stuff is so interesting because it is so inconsistent, and I think, if we're being realistic, it's simply that it's whatever the writers wanted to do, and who cares about the consistency, right? Like at certain points something is considered opposite of something, and at certain points that is totally disregarded, right?
Right.
It's like in that, and not to bring up a problematic old show, but Seinfeld, right? When Elaine is asking Seinfeld about Bizarro, she says, well, does he only breathe underwater? And Jerry says, no. And then she says, is he black? And Jerry says, no. And she's like, so how is he the opposite? And like, these questions are important, but they're also not the point, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're funny, but the whole idea is that Bizarro is an inconsistent, imperfect model. And that kind of brings me to what is so upsetting about one of the books that was part of this series, which is Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. At the beginning, because Alan Moore wrote that book, as an imaginary story of what could be the end of the Superman set, and it could be what is the worst thing that could happen to all of these people. And Bizarro just ends up murdering a bunch of people in Metropolis because Superman doesn't kill, so Bizarro must. And Cody, it's so interesting you brought up that it's not a biological hardwiring in Bizarro that makes him do the opposite. It's a choice. It's a misunderstanding. And that's compounded over and over and over until it becomes this almost concrete sense of self. You have to do the other thing that's opposite of what your original does. And that has devastating consequences.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, and I am really interested because I just, I think you mentioned on the Phantom Zone episode that I don't know how to say it correctly. Not that you
don't like that issue.
Yeah, you don't like that issue. Yeah, yeah. I didn't want to say it so outright, but I'm glad that you did for yourself. Yeah, just because you make a great point that yeah, it is a misunderstanding of the character, but also in relationship to when you're thinking about how that those series of issues end, and it's like you said, the one thing Superman doesn't do is kill, and it's like everybody knows that, but it's really striking home the point that it's that is the absolute opposite of what Superman does, and then he kills at the end. That yeah, just tying those threads together is really strong, and you don't realize that that's what Alan Moore is planning. And I really appreciate his just writing quality, where you don't really see that narrative follow through a lot. So,
yeah, one of the worst things is that Alan Moore is very good at his job. He's very, very good comic book writer. Those two issues are quite competent. There's just a spirit behind them that I think is more negative than is necessary. And Alan Moore, again, in his Supreme series, he has stated that is his apology for those two issues. And I highly recommend that anybody listening to this episode right now go read Alan Moore's Supreme. It's excellent, and it's a real, true love letter to the Silver Age of Superman.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, like, yeah, I think that, yeah, I also appreciate you saying, though, that it's like, it's just more negative than you think is necessary because, like, yeah, I just could not agree if somebody tried to say that it was poorly written, you know?
No,
like,
it's excellent. It's great.
yeah. Yeah, and it's really hard to look past that sometimes, even where I'm like, yeah, you're right about that, but it's so good. Yeah. Okay. And I'm yeah, let's actually, yeah, before I move on to the next question, I was going to for a second, but like, yeah, I kind of did want to dig into a little bit, like, more of everybody's feelings about, like, how well did, you know, does it feel like Phantom Zone or whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, like, function as, like, endings? We kind of talked about that in the Phantom Zone episode, but I didn't want to, like, dig into what happened in whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow too much. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious on everybody's feelings on that too.
Well, I can start.
Yeah.
If we're going off the Dan DiDio model, then obviously the best one is whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow because of the implication that his son will also have superpowers. So Dan DiDio, you did your job and you were influenced by Alan Moore. But I mean, I also think it's sort of the three endings that
Right.
you can consider, which would be Phantom Zone, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, and then Superman number 416, in which it's revealed that he basically had Lex Luthor cured of his psychotic tendencies, and then they became spacefaring buddies for like 100 years that you never get to see. Obviously, my favorite is the last one because of the sheer whimsy of it, but whatever happened is much more concrete than Phantom Zone. Phantom Zone is just, can he ever return to Earth because it's so irradiated with kryptonite now? I mean, he's back on Earth, but can he ever do anything about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. For sure. Yeah. I think that, yeah, I wish that in the interim between recording episodes, I would have gotten to read 416. I just, you know, I was so tracked on Bizarro. I kind of forgot about that. But yeah, for me, I do. It's so funny. I talked about this a little bit in the Superman and the Authority episode also. There is a part of me that actually I'm like, yeah, let's actually follow through with the idea of like the 5G thing, you know, like let's see what the DC universe looks like if it's like it starts in 1939 and it just, you know, goes on from there. Like, where are we at, you know, the in the 2020s, you know, with everybody from that time, you know, aging, and for that reason, you know, as you mentioned, like Superman's kid, yeah, I kind of like the idea of, and I feel like what Alan Moore was kind of meaning with that is that like every ending is a beginning, you know, like, not being aware of where John Byrne was going to take the character, you know, he's like, well, this ending of the pre-crisis Superman is just going to begin again with pre-crisis Superman, where there's a superpowered baby and two functionally human parents, you know, and then, you know, that baby will grow up and be Superboy, and it's, you know, it's going to be a little bit more futuristic, but generally he's going to have the same problems, and, you know, and he's going to grow up and become Superman, and it'll just always kind of repeat into ad infinitum, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. Like, and yeah, I just kind of like that aspect to it. Yeah, but any thoughts, Jake or Shawenta?
I'm so conflicted.
That's fair. You want
I
to work through those conflicts?
I mean, because I liked Superman Phantom Zone as like a story, and I talked about it in the episode where I felt like it was very sudden that he couldn't get back to Earth. Like, Superman Phantom Zone brings up some interesting stuff about Krypton that Superman Absolute, I think, tried to do, if I remember right. I guess just the idea that Krypton was flawed in ways that mirror Earth.
Right.
But as an ending, I think whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, it just feels more human at certain points. Like Superman having to deal with his death, supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm sorry, go on.
The last thing I was going to say was pretty much I just don't think the answer to Superman, this alien coming to Earth and finding a new home and a kind of a new purpose. I don't know if the answer to that is just he's not able to come back to this home. It's irradiated kryptonite.
Yeah, and that's really, it is conflicting. There's a great word for that. The argument that I have is that in whatever happened, we have to watch Superman sacrifice his own morals, and that feels so antithetical to everything that Superman had been up to that point, because because the Silver Age, the Golden Age, the Bronze Age, all that stuff, Superman was this ultimate paragon, right? There wasn't a lot of conflict, and when it happened, it was a lot more meaningful than all of the stuff that was post-crisis, that was internal to his character. And I mean, you could still read it. You could read it in the old scripts, but they were dated. You know what I mean? They're old feeling. But with the Phantom Zone, it's totally out of his control, which is almost more devastating. But again, I want to lead all of this back to my favorite ending is Superman 416, where everything turns out okay, and he just becomes friends with Lex Luthor, and they go off into space.
Right, yeah. Because also, that an important part of that I don't think is talked about in any of the books that we covered is that pre-crisis Superman, that's the one where he was friends with Lex Luthor as Superboy, or at least they started as friends, but then of course Lex Luthor still was, became evil, or was that only one of the many retellings of his Superboy days?
That was pretty early on in Superboy.
Okay. I was wondering for a second. I was like, did I get that wrong? But yeah, so yeah, it is. There is follow through to them being friends. Also, it's not just like, oh, now that you're not evil, hey, do you want to hang out? Like, like they knew each other as kids, and yeah. So I can totally see that being satisfying too, narratively. Yeah, did you have a thought on that, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, it's conflicted because it's as much as I like more of the story in whatever happened, it's hard for the ending to be and then he settled down and lived a normal human life with the woman he loves and had a kid. And it's like, wow, that's I don't feel sad. I feel bad for the ending in Phantom Zone. But it also, I think I said it in the episode, it's like, it feels, part of it felt kind of like it could be continued. It's like the Legion of Superheroes or the Justice Society or whoever could have gotten the kryptonite out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But also, having not read 416, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Right.
It does seem like could also be spun off into here's all the hijinks that Lex and Superman got into in space.
I need everyone listening right now to understand that every time that I plug that book, I do so because I like the silliness of it. It is a very silly book.
Does
Like
Lex get his
he
hair
trapped.
back when he gets his?
No, I wish. Oh, that'd be so good. But it also has one of the most disturbing drawings of Superman I've ever seen when he's very old and bearded and laughing at some like student's misinterpretation of history or something like that. But also at one point he captures Luthor in an ice cream shop using some sort of stretchy plastic bag. It's very, very silly.
Are they just two old guys?
No, it's the framing
Adventures.
device is that Superman's on this like space station in the far, far future, describing his final battle with Lex Luthor, and so you cut back to that flashback.
Okay.
You never see old Luthor because at that point, old Luthor is dead Luthor. It's been hundreds of years, but Superman is like, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go back in time and go visit my friend again.
What the heck?
Yeah, I do also. I gotta say, I appreciate like they, in classic Superman like that. They do have rules for time travel, but generally it's not like it's not like, and it's super important that you never time travel unless you absolutely have to, because ultimately like there is like, because there's rules behind it, there is no absolutely you have to, like, because you're not allowed to change anything, you're not allowed to inform people of things that are to pass, so therefore it's really just to like check it out and be like, wow, cool, and like also to complete destiny essentially. Like I've heard about what is the Superwoman character from the future who gosh, I'm forgetting now. It's like the writer of Miracle Monday, if Nat
Elliot Magan.
Elliot Magan, thank you. Created this character from the 31st century who time travels back in time, and she's like a history teacher, but she's trying to figure out what the identity of the Superwoman character is that like worked with Superman, because nobody knows who it is even in the future, and it turns out it's her. She uses future technology to to have superpowers in that time period. And so it's like, yeah, that's the alternate reason to travel back in time, is like to complete something that would have happened anyway. But anyway, yeah, so that's it's just funny to me, like the flippancy a little bit of time travel in those stories.
I mean, some of the best stories are the ones that just roll with it.
Yeah.
They're like, let's explore this.
No, definitely. I mean, I think that, yeah, like, especially because like that's just kind of how superhero comics are, like
They gotta be that way.
right,
Dealing with so many canons.
right, yeah, like, I mean, there's, yeah, I think that some of the worst superhero comics are the ones that get caught up in trying to answer questions about like to readers about like where the canon is or what happened, like there's one Marvel comic, I think, where it was all like, well, there's like all of these possible future, futures that people say are the future. Like there's the days of future past, and there's the 2099 and stuff. And it's like, well, which one's the future? What's the real future? And it's like, I don't care really. Like, I don't know. They're all just possible futures, but like, yeah, trying to answer that, or when DC tries to like, I don't know, do Doomsday Clock.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, that's just silly to me. Okay, so yeah, what is some like, yeah, biggest, most standout moments from these books that we haven't like talked about? I'm really curious about like, just like, yeah, what people's like, wow, that was like, just really stood out about this book, good or bad, you know.
I mean, I will keep coming back to what I brought up earlier, which is Superman staring at the menu in Superman versus Meshi and having this meltdown about which bowl of beef, like what's different about each bowl of beef and why they cost, why there's such a cost disparity.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's such tension there.
I mean, yeah, every time Superman and Batman in Superman versus Meshi hang out, where Batman's like, I brought you to this fancy place, and Superman's like, you fool. It's not what this is about.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. And like, yeah, it's like probably like sushi or something even.
Super fancy sushi.
That's some great moments. Yeah. Yeah, I think that I'm trying to, like, I feel like the book that we've least talked about is probably Superman and the Authority. And part of that is, like, you know, we kind of talked in the episode too, like, we picked this book, but then there was not a lot of knowledge of who, like, the original Authority was. None of us have actually read that series from Warren Ellis or any of the other people that have written other versions of the characters. But yeah, I'm like, that one, you know, I think though, yeah, just agreeing with what Nat already said too about that one. It's like, you know, everything is just like under control a little bit too much, like even more so than some of the like times that like people say like Batman, the Bat God, you know, that can do everything right. You know, it's like Superman, even when he's in a bind, it's like, actually, this was part of my plan all along.
Might as well just read Prodigy all over again.
Yeah. Oh, true.
Or Fables.
or what?
Fables. I don't know if anybody's read that one. It's absurd.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that one like I've read it, but I'm just trying to remember now because
Big B Wolf, you know, the private detective,
right?
He has everything figured out from the get go, and you learn at the end of the story, or whichever story, that you know when he's in the metaphorical accusing parlor, that he's known all along.
Right. Yeah.
It's just, and I have
And
other
do
issues
something
with
about
it.
it.
Yeah, right. Then why did you string us along?
Right.
You know, the Superman and the Authority is a very challenging book sometimes to read because I think Morrison is well-meaning with it, and that's kind of the problem. You know, and that manifests in multiple ways, right? Like, obviously, Morrison is sort of an older Gen X kind of person, and so their understanding of pop culture and the internet, I think, is more informed than most of like the people in their age bracket. That doesn't necessarily mean that their analysis of it is correct, or like that meaningful. Like, I love, like, again, this is like somebody asked me about like the recent Absolute Batman stuff where he's beating up white nationalists. Like, is that cringy or is it important? And I said, well, it's not necessarily either, but I'd rather it be in the world than not, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd rather Grant Morrison hold the opinion that it's bad for trolls on the internet to body shame people, you know? But putting that in the book in the way that they did with literal internet trolls, like I don't know what the femto AI troll beings, digital beings, breaking into our world and then just basically shouting slurs at a woman is like I appreciate what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
It was a little ham-fisted.
No, for sure.
But also, that's just one of the ways in which this is a little challenging and a little problematic. No, not problematic. I take that back. Again, I'd rather they have these opinions, and I'd rather that a big publication proffer these opinions, right? Like DC or something like that. But also, like, the idea that Superman and the Authority are the arbiters of what is good and what is righteous is still coming from a very Western perspective. And the fact that an army person, Philip Kennedy Johnson, took over the story where they're going to liberate all these worlds from quote unquote authoritarian dictatorships, right?
Mm-hmm.
It depends on who is using those words for me to actually kind of take it seriously, right? And in the book, like literally in Superman and the Authority, Superman says that, like in a almost praising way, that it was liberal idealists who dropped the atomic bomb, and so we shouldn't mess with those people. And the way that makes it sound, especially with the whole Kennedy framing, is that like that was a good thing to do, but like in real history, like the atomic bomb was dropped basically after the war was over, right? It was a show of force to the USSR that the United States had this doomsday weapon and was going to wipe communism off the map.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a misunderstanding that lots of people have, but not everybody has the platform that Grant Morrison has. And so putting that in the book is a little difficult. And it's a book about somebody who is someone we're supposed to aspire to be. So, yeah, I could take or leave Superman and the Authority, to be honest.
No,
What
absolutely.
an odd book.
Yeah,
It was odd. It was odd.
Yeah, it's so odd, and I feel like more and more. I was such, starting out reading Grant Morrison. Like I was like, yeah, I pretty much like everything that Grant Morrison puts out, and now the batting average is like maybe 50-50.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
But their 80s and 90s stuff is untouchable.
yeah. I think we covered. I mean, it was years ago now, so, but Doom Patrol and Animal Man, to some extent.
Yay.
Yeah. Also, when you mentioned, Nat, the recent Absolute Batman annual, with the breaking the arms of the white supremacists and stuff, that reminded me that I was going to talk about and see, I mean, I'm sure that if you haven't read it, you're at least aware of it, but Jake and Shawenta too, I remembered that we also, in a different theme, covered Superman versus, or was it versus the
Superman smashes
the Klan. Thank you. I was like, what is the right
Oh,
title? Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah, I think that would have, like, I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to pick something that we've already read for the show, but that also, I think, would have made a good addition to this theme. And, generally is, yeah, I think that it fits in well with everything.
Yeah, what's with the Superman? Is he political or something?
Right. Yeah. But yeah, it was just fun, I guess, remembering that book a little bit while thinking about these books, and in that version. I feel like that would have like even covered the gap of some of the whimsy, I guess, if that makes sense too, between some of these versions, and some of the seriousness. But yeah.
I think my favorite moment, I don't know if it's my favorite, but I think a really standout moment is obviously like Charlie Queskill, I'm trying to remember his name, from
Quiskel?
Phantom Zone.
Yeah, I think it's Quiskel.
When he can't say it.
Quexall.
Quexkill.
That's his Kryptonian name.
It's not difficult. When he dies, it's wearing Superman's outfit, trying to help Superman, who in that moment is vulnerable. It's,
Yeah.
It's great. That's such a good pull. I'm so glad that's your favorite moment. That's amazing.
it's just, when else is Superman going to be in that sort of situation and like have to experience that? But I mean, also Nat, during that episode, like you talked about how Charlie was like a long time character and how that made you appreciate that moment even more.
Yeah, yeah. His appearance in either Action Comics or Superman, I don't remember which one, is yeah, it's very powerful to see him be told at the end of that issue that actually his memory was messed with. He's not an evil bad guy, and he was imprisoned wrongly. And he realizes it as Superman's racing to the gold kryptonite trap that he set for Superman. And then he goes and sacrifices himself so that Superman doesn't. It's great. And then to parallel that with, or not parallel, but to build upon that with the eventual moment that you were just talking about, really adds a lot of gravity to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it just says a lot about the moment that I still didn't know any of that stuff and
Yeah.
it still stood out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said at the last episode, I was like, man, that's incredible. I wish I'd had the experience you had with it.
Yeah. I think that I'm trying to think of what like my favorite moment has been, because like I mean really I've just enjoyed like even the books that I didn't really enjoy, like Superman the Authority or Absolute Superman. It was just so much fun diving into this character and like the different aspects of him and different interpretations. Yeah, I feel like my favorite has to fall somewhere between Phantom Zone and whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, and also kind of unmentioned, but technically read was the other Alan Moore stories that come with the collection, the Swamp Thing and the what do you get the man who has everything stories, but yeah, I think that I just like particularly about whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow being the like wondering what's going on and also getting like some closure and finality to like some of the supporting characters too. Even if that means like, Jimmy and Lana, die at the end, at least like we get an understanding of like where they are and what happens to them. And I like that.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of Superman Man of Tomorrow as well. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite moment, but or like that I even like the moment, but I find it really interesting when Superman chooses basically to cry by himself. I mean, with
Yeah.
Crypto.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such an interesting moment. I feel like it's very Superman because he's not really choosing to share his feelings with the other people present. Like he's trying to stay strong by himself, sort of.
Yeah, because like I mean
I
I
would
think
love a poster of that page, to be honest.
you have one or you.
No, I'd love to have one.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, though I was gonna say I think it was Nat that said like especially pre-crisis, Superman is supposed to be like this like paragon of like good, always doing good, and so it's like to not be able to know like what to do and like being like that like level of like distress, it's like can't let anybody know what's happening. Yeah, is really fitting, I think, in that moment. It's like and also like I mean, you could even say maybe fits into like what we were talking about with Bizarro a little bit, where it's all like you become this identity so strongly, that it's like you have to be what you are made to be, and so it's like Superman doesn't ask, for help, like, that way, like he has to be better than that.
Won't even contemplate it, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then, I mean, with that Superman Man of Tomorrow, I know Jake was talking about it earlier, the ending, but I I guess I just don't like how much it feels like a sitcom ending to me in comparison. Like all of this, like he's not even sharing his like sorrow with Lois at that time. And then now he's just winking at the camera at the very end. I was like, you're not even dead. I was sad about it.
I think I'd be a lot more forgiving of whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow in terms of the sort of spirit of it if it had come out at a different time. But because it came out relatively around the Crisis on Infinite Earths, really like a year or so after or whatever, it did sort of become cemented as if that's what actually happened, despite all of its proclamations that it is an imaginary story, you know, aren't they all, as it says.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes the, I mean, that takes the bite out of it calling itself an imaginary story for it to say, aren't they all? It's like, yeah, but you're different. You're not the same as these others. But if it had been farther removed from the Superman ending, like the our world ending of pre-Crisis Superman, I'd like it a lot more. But there's, I think this idea that people like take it as canon, and I don't want it to be. And then maybe that's a me thing. It's still a good story, but it just is so anti the spirit of the rest of pre-Crisis Superman.
Yeah.
Are you also saying to some extent like that the audience took it so seriously as an ending, like canon?
Yes, it's exactly what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And like also now I guess I hope that you have the knowledge to fill in what I'm about to say here, but you know, it does seem like there's like such a modern rejection of pre-Crisis storylines too, because like isn't part of like I think it's introduced in Final Crisis, I want to say, and I know Jake's read that too, so maybe he can back me up also on this, but like isn't Superboy Prime, who is like he's a bad guy in that story, and that's supposed to be the pre-Crisis Superboy who like, you know, gets like trapped or something after the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Is that how that happens, or am I
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, I hope you're all sitting down.
Into some weeds here.
Yeah, no. Superboy Prime is from our Earth.
Oh.
He is a boy who lived in our Earth. And none of this makes any sense. Any sense at all. I'll pay somebody $1 million if they can actually explain to me what happened in Crisis on Infinite Earths. But Superboy Prime is from DC Comics Presents. That's where he comes from, and he was visited by, I think, Superboy of Earth 2 or Earth 1. I don't remember. I read it one time.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, when he's on the beach with Lana Lang, he just gets powers, even though he's in our world, and even though our world is somehow making a comic book about this child in our world who also like has knowledge of Superman, and he sees Superboy, but he's also Superboy. And then he becomes Superboy while having been Superboy himself. And then he flies away into a different universe. And then he gets trapped at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths and gets really salty about it, which starts to manifest in Infinite Crisis in 2006.
Okay.
That's when he starts to become a bad guy. And then he's also a bad guy in 2008 in Final Crisis when he punches reality in the face and fixes everything.
Yeah. Okay. I get it now. This is the kind of story I was talking about earlier when I said comics, comics that are supposed to be about comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. Thank you, Nat, for filling that knowledge gap.
I think that's right. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
No,
because we live on Earth Prime, and
right.
he's Superboy Prime.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
What gives DC the authority to dictate which Earth we live on? I'll never know.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And I mean, that's the classic, or not classic, but the joke of like, I think in the CW Flash show, where they're just all like, well, wait, why, what? Wouldn't everybody think that their Earth is Earth 1? Like, what are you talking about?
Very anti-chauvinist. I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, okay, so that makes a lot more sense, because I was like, I did think for a little while that Superboy Prime was just like Earth 1 Superboy, or like, which I guess would be, that's also another thing that's kind of funny too, is that, like, you know, they when they start doing like the Flash of Two Worlds and all of the like alternate universes, you know, they're like, oh yeah, well, Golden Age Flash and Golden Age Green Lantern and the Justice Society, they're all on Earth 1, and, you know, Barry Allen and Hal Jordan are on Earth 2, but then they don't really make a great, or at least to my knowledge, a great distinction of that with Superman either, where it's just like, wait, when did Superman stop being Superman? In between those two iterations, like, they show an older Superman in Crisis on Infinite Earths who's from Earth 1, but there's not the distinction of when the Superman mythos hopped over to Earth 2, which is kind of interesting in its own right. I think
that I don't remember what, if they, is that from Flash of Two Worlds where they actually define that?
yes it is.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it is like, you know, you almost have like a question of like, is there any difference? And also, like, they also say that Barry Allen was inspired to become the Flash, or name himself the Flash rather, from reading comic books about Jay Garrick. So it's also like, is there Superman comics? Does Action Comics exist in Earth 2? Like, is it a Marvel Comics situation where, like, people are
Right.
writing about the actual people that they're seeing, or is it like, you really have to wonder what's but again, if anybody answered that, I'd probably be annoyed also. It's just silly.
That's comics for you.
Yeah.
Just an Ouroboros.
All right. So I think that we're running out of time for this episode, unfortunately, even though I'm having a lot of fun. So as a kind of exit question, let's say, like, out of the 5 books, what was our favorite of the bunch? And yeah, for me, I think that despite what I've said through this episode, I will choose Phantom Zone. And that's because, like, you know, there's some really excellent writing from Alan Moore in Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. But I enjoyed the newness of Phantom Zone for me, and like what it allowed, like, you know, just the further opening up of the mythos of Superman. You know, it was just great to like learn new things, and all of the, like, you know, what we mentioned in that episode, like the body horror elements of it, and just like, it was very like interesting and well thought out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Phantom Zone as my favorite as well, not just because that's the one I chose. It is such an excellent example of how you can and should take pre-crisis Superman continuity seriously, and the rewards that come with that.
You guys need to take it back, because that's my choice too.
Yes.
It's just some whimsy that somehow gets emotional. I don't know. Who can beat that?
Yeah. All right, you, Jake.
I guess I'll be the stick in the mud and say whatever happens is probably my favorite.
Hey, that's fair. I'm glad somebody said it, because I really liked that one too. All right. So that's all we have for the show today. This has been our retrospective on the theme of Superman. If you like this episode, be sure to follow us on Twitter at the Comic Panel 1 and listen to more of us on Spotify at the Comic Panel Podcast. You can also listen to us on ksuaradio.com or on 91.5 FM in Fairbanks, Alaska. And also just wanted to quickly say thank you to Nat again for coming on the show again. Do you want to kind of shout out your show a little bit and kind of tell listeners where to find you?
Yeah, so I am just about to finish up a collaboration with another fantastic comic book podcast up there in the Pantheon with the Comics Panel, the Black Case book. We are working on an episode on Nightfall, which is a sort of parallel big event to the one that I'm working on right now, which is the Death of Superman, my third season. And I'm about to hit the big, apart from the Nightfall stuff, I'm about to hit the big mid-season finale with Adventures of Superman number 500, which is the 500th issue in what started with Superman back in 1939, which was the very first comic book magazine to feature a single solo superhero and wasn't just an anthology magazine. And if you want to listen to it, if you like the ideas you've heard today and you're interested in more left-wing politics or just sort of like a history of the world that you're less familiar with, check out Collective Action Comics. You can find us anywhere fine podcasts are sold. We're on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple, all of the you know what podcasts are. You know where to get them. You're listening to this one right now.
Yeah. Okay, well, great. Thanks. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next episode that you're going to put out, and the Nightfall too with Black Case Book. I've been listening more to Black Case Book because I was kind of like, I don't know, where to, I kind of started at the beginning and I was like, I don't know if I want to, like, there's so much to catch up on, and I was like, well, I was wrong though. This is really good.
It's really good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Thank you for that, Nat. For you guys listening out there, be sure to also tune in 2 weeks from now for the start of our new theme, which is going to be comics about cults, chosen by Shawenta. Until then, I'm Cody.
Jacob.
And I'm Shawenta.
And I hope you all have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.